Welcome aboard, applicants. I thought we would begin our next essay with the General Bar Exam, February 2018, question number 3. As with all essay questions, let's begin with the call to question. Number 1. If Michelle sues Len regarding his continued use of the smokehouse, what claims, if any, may she reasonably raise? What defenses, if any, may he reasonably assert? And what is the likely outcome? Discuss. 2. If Michelle sues Len regarding fetching his dog, what claims, if any, may she reasonably raise? What defenses, if any, may he reasonably assert? And what is the likely outcome? Discuss. 3. Is Michelle likely to prevail in her argument for additional compensation from town? Discuss. Now, already let's start framing our answer here. Now, Michelle v. Len. Okay, 2. Remember here, though, gotta make sure to thank you for your patience. Okay, if Michelle sues Len regarding his continued use of the smokehouse, what claims may she reasonably raise? Question mark. Okay. 2. If Michelle sues Len regarding fetching his dog, what claims may she reasonably raise? Question mark. And then down here for number 3, is Michelle likely to prevail in her argument for additional compensation from town? Question mark. Okay. Excellent. Let's bring this to the second page here so we can see. Okay, great. All right. Let's start reading our question for a bird's eye perspective overview. Len, an excellent chef, installed a smokehouse in his backyard 3 years ago to supply smoked meats to his friends. Len's neighbor, Michelle, enjoyed the mild climate and spent most of her time outdoors. She found the smoke and smells from Len's property very annoying right here. Okay. What was it here? The smoke and smells. Right here. And stopped having parties outdoors after stopped having parties outdoors here. Oh, let me highlight that. Oh, let me get that here. Thank you for your patience. And we want to make sure to put in smoke and smells here. After receiving complaints from her guests. Okay. Now, okay. She asked Len multiple times to stop using the smokehouse, but he rebuffed her requests. Len has frequently invaded Michelle's patio. Okay, this is one. Okay. To retrieve his dog when it wandered from home. Michelle put up a no trespassing sign and a wire fence between their parcels. After the dog dug a hole under her fence, Len cut some of the wires and entered Michelle's property. Len cut some of the wires and entered Michelle's property anyway, telling her that he had been fetching his wandering dog from her patio for at least 10 years and wouldn't stop now. Last week, the town filed suit to condemn Michelle's land for a public park. It tendered to the court as compensation a sum substantially exceeding the prices of comparable parcels recently sold in the neighborhood. Michelle argues that the amount is insufficient because it is substantially less than a sum she turned down for her parcel a few years ago, and it does not include compensation for relocation costs. Excuse me. Okay. Thank you for your patience. Okay. Now, if Michelle sues Len regarding his continued use of the smokehouse, what claims may she reasonably raise? Up here we have Len, the excellent chef that he is, installing a smokehouse in his backyard 3 years ago to supply smoked meats to his friends. Okay, now Michelle enjoyed this. Goes to the background concerning the fact that Michelle is Len's neighbor. She enjoyed the mild climate, spent most of her time outdoors. Okay, so that's a very good indicator as to whether or not this would be a substantial or unreasonable nuisance. She found the smoke and smells from Len's property very annoying. Okay, this is the point at which I would say I would start labeling this as the first claim being nuisance. Now remember, I would say first private nuisance. I don't think I would see public nuisance here because I don't see any except okay, now we say and stopped having parties outdoors after receiving complaints from some of her guests. Okay, she asked Len multiple times to stop using the smokehouse, but he rebuffed her request. This is the aspect too that I want to point out, that we have some facts here to bring about the self abatement or self help defense here. Okay. Alrighty, and then private nuisance though. We want to make sure to lay out our elements of the private nuisance. First of all, you have unreasonable, substantial. All right, we want to make sure to put unreasonable interference here as well. Substantial interference. Now remember, the unreasonable interference, this would be more to the aspect about the smells and odor, okay? And then the substantial interference is whether a reasonable neighbor would consider that annoying. Well, we have the complaints from Michelle's guests. From Michelle's guests, okay? And also too, I would also argue that we could that in addition to the smell and odors, that she's no longer able to entertain outdoors. Yeah, well, see that's the other aspect is interference with use and enjoyment. Okay, here we are. That's what that is. No longer able to entertain outdoors. Okay, let's copy and paste that down here. Oh, there we go. Thank you for your patience. And as was recommended, that's exactly right. We could argue an additional element here: interference, or I should say this. Excuse me, trespass to land. Okay, and was there actual entry or physical entry? And that's where we have smoke, possibly representing a physical entry, land of another, which is be Michelle's land, without consent. Okay. Injury, that's exactly right. See that we got aspect concerning damages as well here. See the interference here. We got to also make sure, was there any defenses to? Okay, well, first of all, I don't think this would be considered a defense. Thank you for your patience on this. Injunction, that's exactly right. The remedy of injunction. Exactly right. And then trespass to land and conclusion. For the injunction for the concerning the smokehouse. Okay. And this is when she Michelle requested discontinuing the use of the smokehouse. Okay. And then, okay, the trespass to land, we already talked about that. That would be the physical entry, the smoke. And then we would conclude as to what are the claims. I would say private nuisance with all the elements plus the remedy of injunction, trespass to land, and then conclusion here. Now down here under, how about the if Michelle sues Lynn regarding the fetching of his dog, what would be the claims she could bring up here? Okay, right here. Len has frequently invaded Michelle's patio to retrieve his dog when it wandered from home. Well, at least this point, I would argue that trespass, again, trespass to land. Okay, which he's going to argue though to fetch his own his own property, was so reclaiming own chattel as his defense. Now, the argument here too, we will want to make sure to throw in a defense up here that the aspect concerning nuisance. Okay, conversion for the fence, exactly. What? See, defense. We want to make sure to throw in a defense up here for land concerning the private nuisance. So don't forget about that. And now defense reclaiming own chattel, absolutely. Conversion. Well, here underneath, right here, underneath the fact of this right here, Michelle put up a no trespassing sign, so we have no consent aspect built into that. When a wire fence between their parcels. So we got a wire fence and the no trespassing sign put up by Michelle. After the dog dug a hole under the fence, that's exactly right. Len cut some of the wires and entered Michelle's property anyway. So cut some of the wires. I would argue at this point, do we have at least a conversion, maybe trespass to chattels? So and this would involve the cutting of the wires. Okay, and then also the conversion would be the cutting of the wires as well. You could argue that it's hard. Yeah, the wires. And then now right here, okay, up here. Len cut some of the wires and entered Michelle's property anyway, telling her that he had been fetching his wandering dog from her patio for at least 10 years and would not stop now. At that point, that would probably be more support in terms of factual support for his defense of reclaiming own chattel here. So you could probably put this at the tail end. Okay, and right there. Okay, so that, yeah, conversion of fence. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, excellent. Cutting wires in the fence. Let's check and see here. Dugging when the dog dug a hole under the fence. Very good, very good. I was going to say that's a very good observation. Okay. Okay, then we come down here. Is Michelle likely to prevail in an argument for additional compensation from town? This is where this actually becomes a crossover area, and it actually becomes the takings clause. So let's make sure to put that down. And this would go into the aspect concerning the Fifth Amendment. Okay, and now down here we have first aspect is taking. Was there an actual taking? Was there for a public purpose? Was there compensation? Okay. Was there an actual taking? Let's come up here and establish the taking. Well, condemnation of Michelle's land for a public park. So we got condemnation of Michelle's land. Okay. Down here, public purpose would be for the public park. Okay, and then compensation. Where do we see compensation here? Right here, the it, meaning the town, tendered to the court as compensation a sum substantially exceeding the prices of comparable parcels recently sold in the neighborhood. That's exactly right, which would be the fair market value at the time of the taking. And then we, okay, I think that's, we'd throw a conclusion at the tail end there too as well. I don't think there's anything else. Michelle argues that the amount is insufficient because it is substantially less than a sum she turned down for a parcel a few years ago. She doesn't get this calculation. It's only the fair market value at the time of the taking, and also she would lose on this argument that it does not include the compensation for relocation costs. These costs are not part of the fair market value at the time of the taking, so she would not win on either one of those arguments. Make sure to throw a conclusion down here. And I think we got this thing. Okay. I think I'll just pull this down here like that. Make sure to do my spacing correctly. I think we have this. Okay. All right. I'll call this a wrap here. Okay. I'll put a shout out to Chess Cruncher TV. Thank you for chess crunching, Chess Cruncher. Keep chess crunching. I also want to put a shout out to my Amazon Kindle book, Battling a Big Bad Baby Bar, Essay Basics. Thank you for watching, and God bless.